Tupac Shakur, one of the greatest African-American literary artists of all times, he had a lyric in one of his songs, and he talked to his mother, and he said, even though you was a crack fiend, mama, you always was a black queen, mama. And I said, damn, the bar is low on Queendom. But daddy missed 2 child support payments, and he ain't shit.
Okay, so, you know what? Our keynote presenter today has made a career out of bashing vulnerable and marginalized women of color who, despite the ubiquity and effectiveness of modern contraception, are forced by society to have children without an involved father in the picture. His blanket blaming of women for the epidemic of single motherhood by choice flies in the face of what we all know. Every unwanted pregnancy is ultimately the fault of a man, and Roe v. Wade notwithstanding, every unintended birth is also equally the fault of a man. This despicable man routinely publishes podcasts in which he describes women as privileged, indulged by the state, and worst of all, adults. His documentary, Fatherless America, wrongly and inappropriately suggests that there is anything at all a man can provide for his children other than cash. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tommy Sotomayor. There we go.
All right, it's working. The funny part about this is I figured I would have been the one who was late since I'm the black guy on the stage. But it didn't happen, so I'm feel good. I didn't let my people down today. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know who I am, don't worry about it. Just go look up online for like jail records and stuff like that, and you'll find all the information you need to know about me. I talk a lot about accountability. And I learned that in my community, accountability does not mean this, your ability to count. Because a lot of people in the black community actually believe that accountability is a bad thing, and that is when you take responsibility for the things that you have done in life. I am a radio show host, and I talk about a lot of things, but I try to spend most of my time in the black community because, well, that's something I know. I grew up in a household where I had a mother who had children by several different men, and all of us used to run around the house talking about how bad our father was. Your daddy ugly. Well, your daddy broke. And then my other brother, his daddy was ugly and broke, so he just had, like, we got him all day. But I never thought it was strange because all my friends' daddy was either ugly or broke too. So it was like it was a normal thing in the black community. Nobody had their fathers around. I mean, they may have been around in the neighborhood, and you kind of guess if that was really your dad or if it's this other guy, because mom would get mad at him and say, well, he's not your kid anyway. These were normal discussions in the households of a lot of blacks, especially in the inner city. I never thought it was anything wrong until my mom moved us from the ghetto to middle class in the suburbs. I noticed all the white kids had their fathers. I also noticed all the white kids' fathers was in their like 50s and stuff, and we were in like middle school, which was odd because all the black kids' parents was about 10 to 12 years older than them. We go to the club with your mama. It was cool. But so I started to see a different dynamic. Then I started to notice that there was this thing called I don't need a man. All the teenage girls would talk about having a baby. They wanted a baby. It was like an accessory more than it was. It really was. It was an accessory. They would say what they wanted to do with the kid, and they really wanted to have one. And by the time they turned 16, well, they got what they wanted. It still wasn't strange, but when I saw that the white girls were having just as much sex as the black girls, but they weren't having as many kids. Then I noticed they talked about this thing called anal sex, but that is not what we're going to talk about here. But as I grew up and I grew older, I started to notice we got to college, and a lot of the girls in college had children by the time they would get to college, or they would drop out because they had gotten pregnant. These things weren't abnormal. The people never got upset. Their parents never got mad because there was no father around. It was strange that black men are asked to be men when there's no reason for them to be a man, because why would you want to be a man when men are hated in your community? And I'll explain. Well, my dad was either ugly or broke. Your dad was never around. I couldn't stand him. He didn't send a check. You can't get shoes because dad didn't send any money. He became the blame of everything that went wrong in the black household, and the mom became she was the goddess. She was everything. No matter what she did wrong, you never could blame her.
Hey you! Yes, you! Watching this video. Did you miss out on going to the International Conference on Men's Issues? Or did you go and now you missed the fun times you had at this amazing event? Experience the magic of ICMI 2019 again, or for the very first time, with Honey Badger Radio's ICMI disc set. The disc set brings ICMI presentations together in one convenient package, as well as disc set exclusive Badger bonus content. Enjoy behind-the-scenes Badger interviews with free speech and men's issues luminaries, like Sargon, Janice Fiamengo, and Count Dankula, as well as a never-before-seen Badger cartoon. Also available is sparkling ICMI merch, such as our professionally designed program book, sticker sets, badges, and more. Go to feedthebadger.com and claim a piece of men's rights history for yourself.
It was always your father. My mother, when she would get mad at me, she would say, "You stupid like your dumbass daddy. You ugly like your ugly ass daddy. Everything I did wrong, it was like my dad." Then I understood why black women can refer to themselves as queens or gods. Because typically in a religion, you don't blame God for anything. You blame this devil. Well, the devil became the man. Then I looked in society, and I noticed right now, today, society is doing the same thing with men. Why would any man want to grow up to be a man? Especially a black man. That's why if you notice in these movies, they have black men being very gay, and everybody loves that gay black man. Because why would he want to be a masculine man? Because he's going to be accused of something, or he has to be some kind of misogynist. Tupac Shakur, one of the greatest African-American literary artists of all times, he had a lyric in one of his songs, and he talked to his mother, and he said, "Even though you was a crack fiend, mama, you always was a black queen, mama." And I said, damn, the bar is low on Queendom. But daddy missed 2 child support payments, and he ain't shit. And I did not understand why we would give women so much credit, and especially for things that would happen like it's a biological function. You give birth to a child, it's a biological function. I'm sorry, ladies. I know it's something I wouldn't do because I've seen it, and it looked difficult. Looked painful, and I faint at the sight of blood. But it still is a function of biology. But they get credit for doing this, but not a man. A man doesn't get credit. They say, like, if you have a horrible mom, I think it's, what is her name? It's another one of these great black historical figures, Black China, I think is her name. Well, her mother came on to a Facebook Live, because that is the place where all of your life must be broadcast. Facebook Live, she came on there and she said, "I don't care if I slept with the whole Genghis Khan's army. I'm still your mother and I deserve respect." There goes that low bar. And I thought about it. I said, have you ever heard anyone speak of a man this way? You could be a husband of 20 years with a woman and 5 kids. You've taken care of them your whole time. You lose your job. You've been out of work for a year. What will the community look at you as? Deadbeat. He lazy. Girl, you need to get you a new man. He don't have a job. But a woman can sit around and literally not have a thing and hook up with a guy that's worth millions. You can ask my current girlfriend. You didn't bring anything to the table, but you sure got half of it when you left. I talked to a lot of men, and when I was doing A Fatherless America, it was really sad because I thought, well, it's a black and white issue. But then I realized black people are the canary in the coal mine. Whatever happens to us will eventually happen to you. And if white men are smart, see, your plight is different than ours. We don't marry women to get them pregnant. Y'all were dumb enough to marry them. In the process, instead of child support, you had alimony. So you got two bills, and in some cases, white women are so intelligent, they came up with palimony. I had no idea what this was. This was the idea of you said we were dating and you were taking care of me. You told me we were going to get married. You didn't marry me and you still owe me because you didn't do it. Now, I wish that worked. Of all the times girls have told me they were going to give me something and they reneged on it. Wish I could go to court and make sure they gave it to me. Or if I was as smart as Bill Cotton, let me not go there. That's guaranteed. That's all I got to say. But the women were so smart, the white women were so smart that they convinced these white men that it was their job. And then remember what manhood is, or what being a man was supposed to be. Men had no problem with it. We never wanted to be women. We never had vagina envy. You never heard that phrase. But you do hear women saying, and you have heard that phrase throughout the years, of penis envy. Men were okay with their position even though they had to go out and fight and die in wars. We were okay with it. We wanted to go to Valhalla. We were fine with taking care of our wives. We were fine with taking care of our concubines if you were David. But you were fine doing the things that society told you what to do. And then one day they said, well, women want equality. And I'm not against equality. I'm not against fair because I'm a black man. So of course I want to be fair because I don't want to go back to the slave days, and I live in Arizona and I don't know how they had slavery in Arizona. 125 degrees, I would quit. I put in my 2-week notice, and you would notice I haven't been there for 2 weeks. But, so I'm not against being fair. Being fair is one thing I'm okay with. So women, I'm not one of those guys that's saying you need to be in the kitchen because I actually like cooking. And I don't want to cut the grass, so you can go out there and do it and you can fix the fence and all that stuff. I'm fine with it. But women wanted equality and men said, okay. But do you guys believe that women truly today, with the feminist movement currently today, that they want equality, or do they actually want superiority? Because let me ask you something. Have you ever heard a woman lament the sentencing of men versus women? Have you ever seen any of these now women come out and say, that's ridiculous that these school teachers who sleep with these little boys got 6 months house arrest? While the man who had sex with the 16-year-old girl, he got 6 years in jail. He was looked at as a horrible person, but somehow the little boy, a 16-year-old boy who has sex with his teacher, he's looked at as the man. Now, I wish my teachers were sleeping with us back then. They were. They just want to sleep with you, sir. But you think about it, you never hear women saying the places where we're getting treated better, men should be treated the same. Never heard a woman say, I'm sick and tired of these men paying for these first dates. We want to do it. I would like to hear that, but you never hear it. You never hear women say, I'm sick and tired of these women marrying these rich men and taking half. They don't want to change any of these laws. I was talking to a young man last night, and he was talking about he had become a fan of mine and stuff like that, and he was a divorcee. And he was saying, I went from seeing my children every day to seeing them for 48 hours a month, all because of divorce. You never see Geraldo talking about this. You don't see Hannity. You don't see Rachel Madcow. You don't see, that's not how you said it. Yeah, that's right. You never hear any of these people talking about what men go through. And I did this movie called The Fatherless American. In that movie, I went by where the Twin Towers were, and I saw this big plaque of all the firefighters that ran up into the building to save those people. You know what I didn't see on that plaque? One female. So while the thing that would make the normal person would say, this thing is on fire, I'm running away. For centuries, what have men done? They ran towards it. D-Day, they ran towards it. It's their job. But those same men who made it out of that building, saved people, many of them found themselves still in divorce court, still seeing their children for 48 hours a month. No one laments that. No one has a problem with that. So why is it that we have men who will sacrifice everything for society as a whole, but they can't even get equality? That same equality that women, the feminists, say that they want. They can't get equality in their children's lives. No one says that these children need their fathers. They need their father's money. You're considered a good father as long as you pay child support. I've never seen a woman go into court and say, I'm fine with the money that I'm getting, but what I really want you to do is force him to be with this child. Force you to make him come every weekend or take him to school or make sure they go to the game. You've never heard this. But you do see men going to jail for simply not paying a bill. Now, I know people say, well, how can you call a child a bill? Once you create that scenario, that's what it is. If you have a house, many of you have a mortgage. And when you don't pay your mortgage, imagine if a sheriff showed up and took you to jail for it. Would you love your house the way you love it now? No, you would fear that house, you'd fear that bill, because you know if anything happens, you could lose your freedom. Today, men who lose their job or can't pay child support, they have to go back and beg the courts to lower or suspend this payment. That would be normal. He doesn't have a job. And they will still let it build up and build up. And then when they put you in jail, which is funny, they put you in jail for about 3 months. I think three to 6 months at a time. And they put you in jail and you think, well, since I'm in this jail, surely they're going to knock down how much I owe because that's why they put me in jail, right? Oh, no, that's not what happens. It continues to build. Now, if you think about it in 2019, what man really wants to be a man when you have these things on top? You're expected to go out and fight for society, fight for the world, but when you come back, you can't even be something as simple as an everyday dad simply because you get a divorce. Now, most men who are married right now, the person whose idea it was for you to get married was the woman you were with. She got tired of it. My friend's gotten married and we've been together for 6 years. You've been getting the milk for free. So you finally say, okay, I will marry you. But did you know that 70% of all marriages end in divorce by the woman? So the person who asked you to get married is the first one to want to be out of it. Why? Because society makes it financially feasible for her to leave you. She will leave with something. Well, I used to work for IBM. It would have been nice if I decided I wanted to quit IBM and still get a check from IBM, even though I left. That's what women can do in a marriage. Now, on the few times that a man actually gets to, Kevin Federline, he was able to get money from Britney Spears. And all the women say, he's lazy. What kind of man would want money from a woman? A man who likes money. But the man is looked at bad if he does the same thing a woman does. And these men throughout the United States are still doing the same thing over and over again. You have athletes who have several children and they go broke paying child support. But the women, well, they get a television show called Wags or Housewives of Atlanta or wherever else. And they're not wives, they're just someone who laid down with someone important. Now, I heard someone say something to me and I thought, well, that's a messed up thing to say. But usually the most messed up things to say today are the most truthful things. They said, a woman's vagina can't make a man, but a man's penis can make a woman. I said, well, what does that mean? He said, think of all the women that you know of right now today. They became important or they became known or they became famous because of who they slept with, whatever guy they were with. But do you know many guys who became famous because of what woman they slept with? All the women who slept with Bill Clinton got a measure of fame. All the women who slept with R. Kelly, the high schoolers who slept with R. Kelly, they got a measure of fame. Everyone gets a measure of fame except the man. I don't hear about too many men who, well, you didn't know him before he slept with whatever this woman is. So a man has a lot of power, but no one teaches a man how much power he has. As a matter of fact, the world tells a man to always lay down his power. If a woman gets cheated on and Joey Greco is anywhere in the vicinity, she's going to slap you in the face and the cameramen are going to come out and watch and everybody's going to laugh because you're now on Cheaters. If you catch a woman cheating and you walk up with her with Joey Greco, can you slap her? Nope. Can you throw a drink in her face? Nope. As a matter of fact, women believe they can hit men, and then society tells men to control themselves. I don't know where the hell I was at. But the point is, with men, we're asked to lay down our power. Whatever it is we have, lay it down. And the sad part about it is, if you think about it, we're asking a man to be responsible, going back to what we were saying. Man, you know you're more powerful than that woman. You know you're stronger than that woman. So no matter how many times she hits you, you should restrain yourself. That's a female. When the answer to things is that's a female, that's when I realized, well, there's not much difference between black and white people, even though I thought it was. No, we revere women to the point of where it hurts society and it hurts men. Because logically, if I walked up right now to Shaq, see, I'm a man, I'm held to a standard of responsibility. Shaq is bigger than me, and I should know that. If I walk up and I punch Shaq in the face and he punched me back and knocked me out, what would everybody around say? Should have been fucking with Shaq. No one would say, but Shaq, you're bigger than him. I could go outside right now, and it could be a grizzly bear outside of that door, and I said, fuck you, bear. I've done that once, so I ain't got no ass now. But the bear would then slap me, and they would be like, oh my God, he shouldn't have been fucking with that bear. What was he thinking about? A woman can walk up to a man that's 3 times her size, slap the shit out of him. He slap her back, and she fall out. Every one of you men will get up and try to fight that guy. Why? Why is she not as responsible as we are to choose our battles wisely? So you have a woman on a bus, and the bus is speeding through Cleveland, Ohio. And the woman is behind the guy, and he's driving the bus, minding his own business. She's slapping him in the back of the head while he's driving, and you guys are on the bus with him. Your lives are in danger, but you say nothing because it's a black woman. You don't say anything to a black woman. Are you fucking crazy? You let her do what she does. So in the process, he then pulls over because he's getting tired of getting beaten upon the back of the head. He stops and he says, you going to jail now. And he argues this woman. Well, I can't call her a woman. That was a machine, because somehow she took that blow and got right back up. Nobody, even though their lives were in danger as she was hitting and spitting on this man while they were driving, nobody stopped the woman and said, don't do this. They let their lives be put in danger because they were afraid to tell the woman to restrain herself, to be responsible. As soon as he hit that woman, I don't know how many of you have seen the video, all the men stood up on the bus and said, that's a female. So they were willing to die on the bus crash just to not say anything to that that woman. But when it came to that woman being touched, well, let's go to Roe v. Wade. All right, women should be able to, how many of you guys out here believe that women should be able to, are you're pro-lifers or are you pro-abortion? Which one are you? Pro-life? Pro-life, all right. Pro-choice. Life. All right, lifers, all right. Isn't it funny, though, that they say it's a woman's body and it's her right to choose? And if it's an ugly enough woman and it was one of those nights I didn't really think about what I was doing, I was drunk, I believe she should choose that option. That being said, though, I can't make her do anything. She can have an abortion because she doesn't want to ruin her swimsuit body. She can have an abortion because, well, she didn't want to she did the time, got the calendar and said, well, I'd have the baby in the summer and I don't want to be all uncomfortable because it's too hot, so I'll just kill this baby. She can do that at a whim. And you could be crying, as I put a video up where this guy was at the abortion clinic crying because his girlfriend went to the abortion clinic to abort their kid and he could do nothing about it. So he has to live with it because it's her body, it's her choice. Fine. So she decides to have that baby and you say, I don't want to have anything to do with it. She says, you shouldn't have got me pregnant. You should have pulled out. You should have wore a condom. Now you got to help me pay for this decision that I made alone. How many of you men think that's fair? Either I have a room full of men with no arms or no one thinks it's fair. Not like that. You think it's fair. Oh, okay. But if you think about it, if we are saying things are equal, why is it that we don't have this thing called a financial abortion? Are you serious?
If it's my ex, I'm not here.
Well, if it's your ex, I'm not here. But if you sit and you think about it, men don't have the right to do the thing that does not harm the child in the least. Pay it. It doesn't harm the child in the least if he doesn't give the mother money. But it kills the child if she decides she doesn't want to have it. But we allow her to have that ability to decide whether she wants to have a kid or not. Now they say R. Kelly is wrong for sleeping with a 17-year-old girl or a 16-year-old girl. Yet a 13-year-old girl can have a baby and they allow it. Drinking, right now, the age to drink is 21 throughout the country. Can two 15-year-olds get together and go to a grocery store and buy alcohol? No, they cannot. If you catch two 15-year-olds together buying or drinking alcohol, they get in trouble, yes? Yes, because they're underage drinking. Yet, can a 25-year-old get with a 16-year-old and give them alcohol? Nope, still wrong. But when it comes to sex, they say a 25-year-old can't sleep with a 16-year-old. That's against the law. Fine, I agree with that. So why can two 16-year-olds still have sex, though? If it's illegal for two 16-year-olds to drink, why can they have sex? And then why can those two 16-year-olds who are not smart enough to vote, to decide if they want to drink, but they can raise a child? Where's the logic in that? There is no logic in it. The majority of laws that we have governing us for today are not logical. If we sit down and we think about it, it makes no sense. Why is it that I've done stories of 12-year-olds? Just the other day, I did a story of a 12-year-old with a child. My aunt was 14 with 3 children by 3 different men at 14. And she could not operate a car. So we felt she wasn't smart enough to operate a vehicle because she could harm someone. But she is smart enough to raise 3 children. You want to know why the society is the way it is? Because we don't have logical thinking right now. We have a woman who called my show not last night, but 2 nights ago, and she was talking about living in Philadelphia when a mass shooter was going out there, but he's black, so we don't call him a mass shooter. He's had a bad day. I love it how we talk about, look at those white kids out there shooting, and then you turn on the news and say, 60 people were shot in this weekend in Chicago. But there are no mass shooters that are black. They're all one-offs. But the woman was telling me, oh, this guy's out here shooting everyone, and he's doing all of this stuff. And I said, you live there? She said, yes, I live right down the street. I said, how old are you? She said, she's 32. I said, how many children do you have? She said she had 3 of them. She said one of them was like 16, one was 14, one was 11. I said, why do you live there in that neighborhood if you have 3 children? Why did you continue to have children in that neighborhood if you knew how bad it was? Because many of you guys should know that one of the largest contributors to poverty in the United States is children. If you just stop having children, you could get yourself out. But you have a society that encourages the broke people to continue to create smaller broke people. She said, there's nothing wrong with living here. And this was after she told me a story of her children had seen a 13-year-old boy who got shot and died on their front porch. She said, you can die anywhere. And I was like, well, that kind of is true. But then that's liberal logic. Excuse me, that's leftist logic. Somebody corrected me last night. It's not all liberals, it's leftists. Some liberals are sane. We got insane liberals in here? How do you guys feel about leftists? Right? They're idiots. What the leftists are telling those people, no matter how many children you have, it's okay. Somebody should help you. And we've created this new thing that supplements insurance, and it's called GoFundMe. That's right. Need an ass implant? GoFundMe. Kids just died? GoFundMe. Yes, Gerber life insurance is very cheap, but fuck that. Society will always be there to take care of you. Why? Because you're a woman. Have you ever noticed that a woman can get money for her children that she can't take care of. But you've never seen a man be able to go to GoFundMe and say, hey, I'm behind on child support. Can you guys as a community give me the money so I can give it to her to take care of the children? So why is that a thing that we can't do, but we will help every woman whenever she needs help? It's because as men, no one cares about us. And the reason I do what I do is because I'm hoping that day has come and things will change. That we now start to care about men, that we care about fathers, that we care about the guy who drives the train, that we care about the guys who are out there tearing up the streets and repaving them and building the bridges. Because the last time I checked, I've never seen a skyscraper and looked on the top and see who was walking across those beams with no support. I've never seen a woman do it. So maybe, just maybe, today, tomorrow, and for the rest of your lives, you start pushing not only the importance of women, because they do that every day, but what about the men who protect those women? Thank you.
Hi. So first of all, I'm just really gratified to see black men in the movement. Okay. Feminism has done a sort of decent job of integrating blacks and whites, women of various races. Not, super great job, but pretty good. But not so much the politicized men's movement. And so I'm just very gratified to see you here. Do you have anything? I mean, to me, it's putting our connection as men first. Mm-hmm. Putting race second, and putting our connection. You and I are both men. First.
Well, that's one of the reasons why this stuff has survived the way it has, because they've still made black men feel like white men are their enemy and white men to feel the same way. It's just this racial divide, instead of realizing that the jails are full of who? Black and white men, a bunch of men. A lot of these situations that you see, the financial debts that men are getting into because of marriages. As a man was in my movie, he was a white man. That white man was a millionaire, and he was living in an apartment while his wife was living in their mansion, the mansion that he had when he married her. It's not a color thing. Men need to stick together at some point.
I so agree. Was there something that you went through that brought you to that conclusion? Or something that you can, how can we bring more black men into this movement?
Well, that's difficult because we are a matriarchal society. Blacks believe that the woman is the most important thing in the world. I mean, if you look at somebody like Eminem, Eminem was able to have a song and say if his mother had shortcomings, he was able to say it. And white people weren't bothered. They were like, yeah, I got a mom that's a bitch too. Black guys were like, you don't call my mom a bitch. As a matter of fact, if you think about playground, well, you may not notice, but on black playgrounds, saying yo mama, like yo mama jokes are a thing. And you say yo mama to a black guy, it doesn't matter what's going on, he will beat you to death. Your mother's a crackhead. And his mom will be over there going, don't let him talk about me like that. And he will fight. But if you say, your daddy ain't shit, he'll be like, you know my dad? So you got to change the mindset of black men to be able to be honest about what they see. And that's what society is telling us. That's why you got 400-pound beauty queens, because somebody's supposed to find that attractive. Not what your eyes see, it's what we tell you. And that's what the leftist movement is doing. So in order to change the minds of black men, talk to them in barbershops, because that's when I started to realize when I talk to them in barbershops, they're very open and honest. But once they get out that door, and we got to give them the ability to feel like they can come, because it is sad. I was like, I feel like a fly in buttermilk in here. So it does need to be more of us, but you got to convince them that, hey, you can say something about women and still get women. I learned that in college, that white boys could still say stuff about women and still got women. Yeah. Black guys think if we say anything negative about women, they will not talk to us.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your being here and contribution to this movement. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Hello. So you talked about that when you grew up, you didn't know alimony was a thing. Maybe I misunderstood you. Like you didn't know that like men paid alimony? Was that?
No, we just paid child support. Black men didn't get married.
Oh, okay. Okay, so do you know if there's a way for, in particular in your community, for men to opt out of either child support or alimony, especially for unmarried men? Like, was there actually any way that that could actually happen?
If all men got together and refused to pay child support, they'd either have to jail us all or they'd have to come back to the negotiating table. But most men are too afraid to do that. We have to go back to John Henry when you give me freedom, or give me liberty, or give me death.
But what I mean is, like, currently, like, is there actually a loophole in the law that you're aware of that that could actually happen?
They claim it is because it's supposedly not legal because we don't live in a society where we don't live in a debtor, you can't have debtor's prison. And technically that's a debtor's prison. What they get you on is a bench warrant. The judge tells you to do something, you didn't do it, so that's the way they get around it. So it's technically not legal. But we don't fight it because they've taught us to be like Pavlov's dog. We are very, very loyal to what they tell us we're supposed to do. That's why you can say, drinking's bad, and everybody say, yes, prohibition's done, yay, let's all drink.
But do you know any black men that were actually able to opt out of paying either alimony or child support, like when they were unmarried?
Jermaine Jackson did it, but he had to leave the country. Other than that, I don't know. I don't know men who've done it. Like, I'd like to talk to some who have. I mean, they go underground, they get jobs that aren't on the books, but I mean, just legally to do it, I haven't seen anybody do it. I just know that people say that you can. It's almost like, well, we're not supposed to pay taxes. Legally, they can't force us to pay taxes. Then you see them put Wesley Snipes in jail for 3 years and you go pay it. So I just think that we are afraid of what Big Brother can do because they've taught us very well to fight each other, but not fight each other.
So in general, like the fathers in the black community, they all pay like child support or alimony if they have children, pretty much.
I'll throw a stat out there that most of you guys won't believe. The ¡1 paying group of people in the United States are black males. They pay more consistently than any other group. They're paying their child support, which nobody would believe it. You can go look it up. They pay more consistently than any other group. Because at least white men are like, fuck it, I'm not doing it. You won't let me see my kid. A white guy will take a stand. The black guy say, well, I don't want to go to jail.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem.
Hi, my name is Deanna Lorraine, and I'm actually speaking tomorrow on a similar topic. Thank you so much for your work. We definitely need to clone you about 1,000 times. So we need more of you in our community. But one question I have for you is, number one, would you say that the #1 problem in the black community is fatherlessness versus like systemic racism as far as why they may not be getting ahead more?
Fatherlessness.
Fatherlessness.
Racism is like the sector. Thank you.
Just checking your pulse on that one.
No, I do, and that's why I put out the movie, and that's why I've always talked about it, because I know the shortcomings of a lot of guys that I grew up with and a lot of guys that you talk to. It's literally that idea of how can we be a man when we have no idea what one looks like.
Right.
So you have an individual who's in this community, and community is usually formed by the individuals who are the doctors, the lawyers, and things like that, so you can all have this little group of people and we don't need the government. You remove that man, that woman now needs that protector has become the government. You cannot call the cops racist, but then everything bad happens, you call the cops. You can't say the United States government's racist, but then say when the check is not there on the 1st or the 15th, where's my check? We're sending mixed messages as black people. We're saying white people are bad, but white people give us stuff.
Exactly. And have you seen yourself successful transformations of black men who have been at first resistant to your message of self-empowerment, taking responsibility, being a man, being a good father, to coming around to it and then being successful themselves?
I have seen some of it, but the truth be told, I'm like porn to black people. Like, you see all of these views and stuff, but everybody says they hate it. There have been black men who have been in their closet and their woman caught them and they were in there watching me. And she's like, what are you watching? He said, gay porn. Like, he got in less trouble for watching that. So it's a difficult thing for them to do, but they're more coming around and they're starting to realize it's like...
It's so hard, though.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
There's so much resistance.
And it's entrenched. Again, this is a patriarchal society. Black people feel like the woman is first. Put the woman first. So you cannot have a group of men saying, well, how about you give us equal billing?
Right. Okay, last quick question. Oh, can I?
We have one more minute left. I'm going to give one more person a question.
But I'll answer it for you. Yes, I'm available for dinner tonight. But no, go ahead. These are jokes, people. It's jokes. Go ahead.
This is partially a comment, but it leads into a question. During your talk, you mentioned how you didn't see very many women or feminists objecting to things like alimony or teacher rape. But there are feminists who do, but they say that's an example of female oppression, how that's handled, or patriarchy backfiring.
Really?
What would be your response to them?
Well, I would say they're idiots, but I'm pretty sure they know it if they became a feminist. I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, the idea behind, oh, that's what you get, because that's what it sounds like you're saying. They say, well, that's what you get for what it is that you've done. You could never speak to a woman that way and say, well, that's what you get for wearing that dress down an alley at 4 in the morning. You couldn't say that. You couldn't say that to a woman, well, that's what you get. Well, you couldn't pay your rent and stuff because you got 5 kids by 6 different men, do the math. But you couldn't say that. So again, they're holding men accountable for things they do and things they didn't do.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're taking the mic from me.
Confiscating this. Yeah, we're out of time. We need to actually have a break, and then we'll be back in about 15 minutes. Phil Cook? Phil Cook is next. So yes, I would just suggest go use the little girls or little boys room. I'm gonna go and smoke as fast as I can, and maybe I'll. If you have any questions for Tommy, I'm sure he's going to be wandering around, and he'd love to talk to you. So, Tommy Sotomayor, woohoo!